it was just so friggin' good. They're talking, all about the non-competes and all this stuff. And it was just a wonderful, I enjoyed it. Yeah.
That's awesome. Jeff, what's up, man? I was thinking about you yesterday. We need to get you back on the show.
I know, the cowboy. What's up, brother? You know what I really enjoyed about Jeff's, photos? I wish we could have made it to the Carrier Broker Summit. Definitely would have loved to have been there for that. But God, I love the shirts this guy wears. Good shirts. Really just looks like he just looks like the man. I like his shirt. Yeah, that's true. I just like his shirts.
Yeah. What's up, T. Harris? Fighting for a shipper. Yeah, man. That's kind of been like
Tire Killers on. Good morning. I hope you got your truck back. $37,000 later. Yeah. Good gracious. Chris White, what's up, brother? It's good to see you on. I know we talked with him this week. He's a nice guy. I like that guy. It's good to see everybody. It's good to see everybody. I hope you're having a good week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure. It's been a weird freaking week for Nebraska. All the tornadoes coming in and the weather's just, oh, man. My goodness.
I know.
Next one is October in Fort Worth. You should come. Yeah.
That's kind of interesting. There's a Carrier Broker Summit in October as well. Yes, sir. She's running like a tramp.
Good.
I like that he refers to her as a woman.
She's running like a tramp. I love it. But anyways, thanks for everyone being here. I love to see you guys
What's going on?
But just helping people find their value. And I get there's sometimes where it's like you get down on yourself, you start overthinking, like am I enough?
Yeah.
And I read something, I saw a quote from Albert Einstein. Someone must have retweeted or something. I'm a big X guy. But
you are a big X guy.
Yeah, for sure. That. Try not to become a man of success, but rather a man of value. And that stuck with me because, I try
say that one more time.
Yeah. Try not to become a man of success, but rather a man of value.
I love that.
And it stuck with me the other night when I was, rolling through X, and I just started thinking about all the people in my life. How do I provide value? Things like that, right? Even with people that I talk with through our channel here, all the people that call in.
Yeah.
How am I providing value?
Yeah.
But it was just a nice quote.
Yeah, I love that. We get so many people that call us, and I'm constantly saying this. How do we provide more value? And whether it's a post on here, whether it's a post in, we'll have to check this out. That'd be kind of nice if we could go down there. Right. I would love that.
What's up, Jerome?
Jerome, what's going on, man? The best no inspection for your carrier on the planet is right here with us today. I love
Reach out to Jerome. He's
Jerome's awesome, a good dude, man. I like this guy. I love this guy. But we talked to so many people, and we've had an opportunity this week. We've made calls, we've done some operational things, which I love, and we'll talk a little bit about today. But at the end of the day, whether you're calling a shipper, or you're calling a carrier, or you are a carrier, Tire Killer's on, and he's like, well, how do I grow my business? Well, you need to provide more value, right? We've got this one carrier, and I love this guy. He runs a bunch of just some crazy kind of expedited stuff, but he sends more updates than no luck on shippers yet. Damn it. Just keep grinding. It's got Monica. I just talked to her yesterday too. I was asking her a question that I had no idea. And Monica just beautifully, and I'll get back to this. God, I got ADD today. But Monica comes on, and I said, hey, do factoring companies have to have a bond? I didn't know. I had no idea, right? And she beautifully explains this thing. It was 300 words or less about UCC filings, all kinds of stuff. But it was super good to hear from Monica as well. I just enjoy her company because she provides a lot of value.
7 Oaks,
right? Yeah, 7 Oaks is good.
Check out 7 Oaks. Back to your ADD.
Back to my ADD. God bless it. I need more coffee this morning. But one of the carriers, here's the value that he provides. He sends an update like, hey, just loaded. Hey, here's a picture of the freight. Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm an hour out. Hey, I just unloaded. Here's a picture of the freight again. And this guy just constantly, for the broker that, we connected him with a broker and vice versa. Right. My God, this guy just provides so much value just by communicating, by over communicating. It's so interesting. Some people say, I think if you scroll up, I think T. Harris said, hopefully May changes. I don't remember what he said here. He said, He said, let's hope for some change. That's what he said.
Change, yeah.
You know, and sometimes change isn't good. You know what I mean? Sometimes change goes up and down. The only thing you can control is just what your actions are. And I also do like, there was a guy we met yesterday. This was kind of interesting. He just called to reach out and say hi.
Yeah.
Right. And, if you guys don't have a mentor, or if you aren't reading books to get a mentor, you guys got to get a mentor, because this guy just calls. I love this, out of the blue. And we had a 30-minute conversation about absolutely nothing other than just how are trends going in your world. And he works in the same industry. We talked about trucking and logistics and software, and he talks about trucking, logistics, and software and what he's seen. It was just probably one of the most interesting conversations. And we met him through just another person that we knew.
Right. No, and I love that too. I mean, if you've watched the Logistics Lounge or like Jeff's show or anyone that has a podcast, right, that talks, they interact with their community and the viewers. So, I feel for the brokers that work at home by themselves. I mean, it's tough.
Oh yeah.
I hear some of the pain through the phone. And that's one thing I tell them, to go watch these people, because they'll interact with you. They'll answer your questions.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just a blessing to see other people out there giving out free content, free advice. Like, I just love seeing that. So shout out to all you podcasters there. But LinkedIn is just a really good place for me to go to. And I think other people should do that. And I say LinkedIn because I enjoy it. Yeah. If you find luck on, X or Twitter, right, or Facebook, I think those are all very good platforms to go and find a way to motivate yourself. You know what I mean? Like,
you got to build a community.
You got to build a community. Yeah. You got to find some sort of mentor. Yeah. Whether you're chatting them up or just reading their content. Yeah. You got to find that for sure. No one wants to be left behind.
No. Honestly, I don't know if I've been an on the road sales guy. I don't know how about you guys have been an on the road sales guy, but the other day I had a guy ask me in one of our meetings. He said, "Hey, what's the best advice you've ever been given?" And I was like, wasn't that an interesting question? By the way, just to paint a picture here, because it's not a normal question to be asked when I'm sitting there with a plate of wings from Outback and a couple beers in front of me.
You kind of sit back, you're like, now I got to think. Like,
I'm like, what is going on? And I'm sitting there as an on-the-road sales guy. If you ever just go to Outback tonight and go to the bar, and you're going to see 9 sales guys around the shoe, right? This is all it is. It's just 9 guys, and they're all just sitting there. Nobody's talking. Everybody's right here. And I'm sitting next to Yoda himself. And by the way, I'm in the middle of nowhere. Like, I'm in somewhere friggin' Kansas. And this guy looks over at me and he goes, "How are the wings?" And I could tell. And I'm like, there's stuff. It's all over. I can't eat wings cleanly. If you want to, don't go on a business trip with me and eat the wings. You know what I mean? But this guy asked me, look at this. Justin says, best advice I was ever given was the eggshell can scoop up broken eggshells in your eggs. It's super easy. If you guys aren't doing this when you're cracking eggs, this advice will change your life.
You must eat a lot of eggs, Justin.
I guarantee he does. And I appreciate that. Good protein, right? Yeah. So anyway, Outback, and I'm sitting there, and I said, I think that's an interesting question. I said, I need to think about it for a second. Yeah. And Monica's like, I love wings. Exactly. There's a new wing truck, in case anyone's in Torrington. There's a new wing truck coming, and it looks like an Army command post. I'm kind of excited about it.
The best food truck ever.
Anyway, back to Outback. And I said, give me a second. I need to think about it. I also need to wipe my mouth up. I didn't know we were going to have a conversation, even though we're literally sitting from me to you.
Right.
So I said, well, I don't know. Let me think about it. I said, can you give me what yours is? And this guy looks at me. And by the way, this guy is like, he's got to be mid-60s. Mm-hmm. He must take care of himself because he looked fairly good. I don't think he's just plowing out. In fact, here's a little bit of a difference. He had a chicken salad in front of him. I had 2 Miller Lights and some wings.
That's awesome.
Which is glorious in my world, right? Yeah. And he goes, what's the best advice you've ever been given? I said, well, it's a pretty deep question for not really knowing each other. And I said, let me think about it. What would you say the best advice you've ever given? And he goes, I take every day, I do something for myself to grow myself. And I said, well, give me an example of what you're talking about. And he goes, well, my dad always said that you need to do something to better yourself every day. And I said, well, that's interesting. And I said, well, what is it that you do every day? And he goes, I read every day. And he goes, I switched from Star Wars and sci-fi when I was about 25 over to, biographies. And he said, here's probably the most interesting thing. He goes, there are $30 million lessons in a $30 biography. And I said, well, that's interesting. And we sat there and talked about biographies, and he reads constantly. In fact, actually, I still talk to this guy today. He's in his late 70s. He's probably one of the more interesting guys. His wife has died. He has one kid he's not very close to, but he still reads every day. And he's always feeding his mind. And I hope, besides the fact that we're talking about wings and Miller Lights, which were delicious, by the way. If you haven't had Outback wings, by the way.
I have not.
You have to go try them. That is your best advice for the day. Yeah. But it was just interesting. He goes, I feed my mind every day. And I loved every second of that conversation because we talked about, his favorite biographies. We talked about, which, by the way, one of his favorite biographies was the guy that directed Star Wars. What was that guy's name?
I bet someone in the chat.
I'm sure somebody knows here.
Someone loves Star Wars here.
What was that guy's name? Give me a second. I'll find it real quick. It was George Lucas, right? And he goes, one of my favorite biographies was George Lucas. And George Lucas was also a big believer in reading biographies. And so it was just kind of this back and forth between the two of them. But I enjoyed listening to this guy. Yeah. And so I've listened to quite a few biographies. Yeah. I haven't listened to 100. I'm trying to get to 100. That's my goal. Yeah, there we go. George Lucas. I appreciate you doing that. Yeah. Somebody would know. But it was awesome. I loved how he just said, take 10 minutes every day and do something for yourself.
Now, you're a big podcast guy. Or not even podcast. You like listening to...
I feed myself with books all the time.
With books all the time. Yeah. Now, when you had that conversation with that old man, was that where you're like, all right, I'm going to start reading more? Tell me more about you getting into books. Because books has changed your life. And if any of you follow Ed Burns on LinkedIn, he's a big book guy too.
Loves books.
But I always hear or see someone post how books changed their life.
Yeah.
Whether it's in sales or just kind of mental health. But big book guy.
Yeah.
So I'm curious on how this came upon.
So I met this guy in 2010. It was nice out because I remember walking to the hotel. There's a delay I was on, boys. Yeah,
we have to have a delay because I just can't trust this guy.
Yeah, I'll drop the F word like it's freaking water. It's terrible. So he has to bleep me out. So anyway, 2010, I met this guy.
Okay.
It was the summer of that 2010, and I said, I should just start to. I need to find time to do it.
Okay.
I had a wife, kids. It's hard to find time when you have life, work, outside sales job, all this stuff, right? And so I started walking. Every morning I'd wake up at 5:30 and start walking. And there for a while, this is how old I am. I got this cord that'd come out of my phone and I'd wear these headphones. And I when it was cold out, because I'd walk anytime, I'd run the cord through my sleeve and make sure that I could do this. And I would listen to this thing. And so I started walking, and it's not only had been a health benefit, but it's also been this. And I started listening to the first podcast that I could find that I enjoyed was the Entre Leadership podcast. If you haven't checked it out, it's ran by Dave Ramsey. It used to have Ken Coleman on, and then he spun off and does his own thing. But this was one of the first podcasts I listened to, and it was all about leadership and trying to grow yourself and trying to, how do you manage people and those conversations. And then in somewhere around when meeting this guy, I transitioned over to audiobooks. And when audiobooks weren't as popular back then as they were. So I was kind of limited in what I could find.
Right.
And so that was when I took his advice and said, you know what, I'm going to go for a 30-minute walk every day. And that's what I do. 30, 40 minutes before I get up every day. Today I was up at 4:30 because I'm kind of addicted to it. And I walked from 4:30 until it was almost 6.
Right. And it's funny enough, Jared lives right down the street. He walks by my house every day.
Love his house.
And I'm just snoring away.
I'm in looking in his window.
I knew I saw someone.
Yeah.
But that leads me to my next kind of question. Today we're talking opportunities or unlocking opportunities with eCarrierCheck.
Yeah.
And from a personal point of view, I think it's more than just eCarrierCheck. We have some insane shipper leads on here.
Yeah.
But if you don't know how to work them or what to do with them, it won't mean anything.
No.
Like those opportunities aren't going to open.
I agree.
But we have some insane leads. If you guys haven't seen them, check it out. We've done some videos on it in the last couple of weeks. So go to our YouTube channel, check them out. But let's talk about how maybe unlocking opportunities with eCarrierCheck, but also strengthening your tools within the industry. You know what I mean? So you got to understand sales. You got to understand the equipments. You know, we talk to so many people coming into this industry, and you know, I'm not dogging anyone that's just getting new here, but it's like you need to know what a flatbed is versus a dry van, right?
Yeah.
Reefer, things like that. But talk to me how, when you got into this industry, what did you do to help yourself unlock more opportunities? And then obviously eCarrierCheck came in on later down the road.
Right.
Obviously, books is one way to help you unlock opportunities. I want to hear more, right?
There's two
specifically.
Yeah, that's fair. There's two things I think that are really interesting about my personality. Okay, and I hope that people can adapt these two things. Okay, and you don't have to be from this industry. Right. You can just get going. But there's two things that I think, if you were going to put my soft skills on a wheel, and I've got some lumps. my wheel is not round. It's just a square, and it kind of keeps going over and over. But I have two things that I really excel in, and the number one thing is that I am one of the most curious people ever.
Oh yeah.
Right. I find every conversation, every phone call, whether I'm talking to a carrier, I'm talking to a shipper, I'm talking to a dock guy, I'm talking to whomever, I kind of want to know what's going on in their world. Tell me about yourself. We had a weird call with this inmate the other day. I don't know what to tell you.
Oh my God.
That was a wild cold call that went the wrong way. But I'm always curious. How did you get to where you're at? What are you doing right now to get to where you're going? Right. Tim Ferriss, if you guys aren't listening to him, he's probably one of the best. He wrote 4 Hour Work Week and then Tribe of Mentors. But he says questions are the best way to articulate, your curiosity, right? Like to be able to come and go, hey, I need to ask you more questions, right? Better questions, the better answers, right? And so I would say that, the two soft skills that I have are curiosity, right? And my drive, right? I'm always like, hey, I can get better. Every day I can get better. There's something I can do today that was better than I was yesterday. And if today sucks, I'm going to get up tomorrow and I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep driving to get where I need to be. Believe me, I've had some terrible days, right? But, when you talk about opportunity and eCarrierCheck, and the reason why we built eCarrierCheck was I wanted to help people glean opportunities, whether they're talking to carriers or shippers. I am always up in everybody's Kool-Aid. Oh my gosh.
Respectfully.
Of course, respectfully, of course. But honestly, just a real quick, Kool-Aid was actually invented in Hastings, Nebraska. Just in case anyone's wondering. There's cool. Kool-Aid days. We have a state fair. You want to hear something wild? Our state fair sells fried Kool-Aid.
I did not know this.
Oh,
I need to get out more.
You got to get to the state fair. Get to the state fair. It's in Grand Island. If you ever do it, I'll tell you the dates. August 27th through September 5th. And the only reason why I know this, and my wife won't let me, if she's watching, I love you, and maybe this year. But she won't let me go to the state fair because it's over our anniversary and we usually are going somewhere. I'm like, honey, this is the year. Yeah. Let's just dedicate our lives to fried Kool-Aid. Apparently not. Apparently not.
We better be good, man.
Either way, the opportunity's on the other end of this thing, right? And when we built eCarrierCheck, we're like, hey, how do we not only protect, people from some of the craziness that's out there? There's a lot of crazy fraudulent stuff out there right now. We're hearing about it from carriers, from brokers, from all that crazy stuff. Freeze-dried Kool-Aid is awesome.
That's the first I'm hearing of it, so I love that. I thought Jared's going crazy.
No, I'm not going crazy. I'm telling you, man. This is what it's all about.
That's awesome. No, I love that that curiosity. If you're on a phone call maybe with a carrier or a shipper, I love that maybe asking that extra question, maybe just to break the ice. And how'd you get in the trucking? How long you been doing? It's just little things like that.
Yeah.
But I think I could see where it could lead to opportunities. Maybe there's a way for you and that carrier or that shipper to kind of connect.
Yeah.
You just don't know. But I agree with you. The opportunities are just by picking up the phone and
it's right here.
Just grind it.
It's right here. So, you just got to pick up the phone and have one more conversation today.
Right.
You know what I mean? I've never heard of that one. Oh yeah. But Monica, I'm guessing there's some crazy stuff going on in Louisiana though. Let's be honest. Like I've never eaten I haven't had fried like crocodile. I haven't eaten crocodile. But I do love. Remember the crazy jambalaya place that came to town? Yeah. We get these crazy food trucks that for whatever reason feel bad for people in Western Nebraska and just show up. And you're like, hey, I got some fried cod today. You want some? I'm like, yeah.
I had alligator for the first time. And that might sound crazy to you, or not crazy to you, but crazy to me.
We in Nebraska.
Don't think about eating that.
Yeah.
We're chicken wing guys.
Yeah, we are chicken wing
Mexican
guys.
food. But either way.
A lot of Mexican food.
There's obviously steps into opening opportunities. We named a few ways. I think they're great ways. Podcasts.
Yeah.
Listening to the books, connecting, finding a mentor. Fried alligator tastes like chicken. It does, Monica. I agree now.
Yeah.
It was crazy for me to try.
Tire Killer says everyone has gems to drop, so you have to be observant enough to see them.
Bingo.
Boy, isn't that
Bingo.
the truth?
Yeah. That's 100%.
You kind of hit it on that. Have you ever gone back? I'm curious if Tire Killer, I still want to get this guy on the show. He's one of my favorites. Have you ever had a conversation with somebody and then a couple weeks later, you're like, that's what she said. This is what she meant.
Yeah.
Like she may have not communicated it properly or may have not wanted to explain everything.
Right. And
then all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, you're like, I didn't ask the right questions.
Yeah.
Or I see what their motivation was.
Right.
Man, I tell you what, seafood in Nebraska is terrifying.
You're not wrong.
You're not wrong. You're very landlocked out here. We're very, very corn nuggets though are real. We deep fry corn nuggets. You'll love that. Those are good. Have you ever had freeze dried or deep fried corn nuggets?
I have not.
They take sweet corn, put them in like ice cube trays, right, or smaller, freeze them, batter them, fry them. Pop them in your mouth like friggin'. They're just wonderful. Change your life. Yeah.
So I guess alligator changed my life too.
Yeah.
But here we are.
It's fair. Either way, I think this is probably half the key. If you practice listening, there's something that I do with my kids. I used to do this all the time. Is I play a game for ice cream, and we eat a lot of ice cream in our life. Corn in Nebraska is literally the opposite feeling. But I used to play this game all the time.
I can't wait to have you on, Chris.
I know, Chris. He's going to be very entertaining. Yeah. But I used to go outside when my kids were like throwing a fit or just in a weird kind of crazy mood. I would go out on the front porch, and we have a front porch swing, and I would make them take 3 deep breaths, and then I would tell me 5 sounds that you hear right now, and we would sit there, utter silence. She'd be like, there's a dog barking. And I just hold up my finger, right? And we would listen for 5 sounds that they would hear. And the other game that I would play, and this was also for ice cream, is when we would get into a restaurant or someone else's environment, I would start asking them about the pictures behind them or the building or, the restrooms or things where, if something would happen, were you observant enough to know where the exits were? Did you look at the photos on the wall? Right? And it's interesting how much more observant my kids are versus others. Mm-hmm. They see things because I've asked those questions. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. I tell you what, Tire Killer kind of hit it on the head. You just have to be observant enough to see them. Yeah. People will tell you what they want. But you need to ask better questions to be more.
I agree. So. I agree. That's well said. I love this. What Tire Killer had to say.
Yeah, I do too.
I'll leave it up there, but I love it, man. It's we didn't really show much of eCarrierCheck today, but we maybe that's something we do Friday. We'll show it off.
Yeah, and
we can show you how to unlock more opportunities. We have some insane shipper leads that we just dropped about 3 or 4 weeks ago. It's eCarrierCheck on steroids, in my opinion.
Yeah, we just took it up a notch.
Right, and our carrier vetting just got even better and deeper. We helped a guy yesterday just catch some fraud. We had a trucking company. Their MC essentially was, a fraudster was using their MC on the load board and, trying to steal loads. So, we are the best of both worlds here, and that's what I love about us.
Yeah. You can kind of kill two birds with what eCarrierCheck. You can, use us as a vetting tool and a sourcing tool to find carriers that you wouldn't find normally. Right. And to be less dependent on load boards, and then from there you can also find leads, and you can find leads in both the carriers and the thing. And so I really think, even from a carrier's perspective, our brokers are scraped. You can find brokers that are in your area, start building relationships with those local brokers, and just drive your truck into the parking lot and let them know you're here.
For sure. So, Jared, I don't know if you have anything to add to opportunities, how people can find those, or just try to get out there and create more opportunities.
Yeah.
If you have anything to add, I'd sure love to hear it before we get off here. But I just really appreciate everyone tuning in. Got to run. Always good seeing you too. Hey, Robert. Love you, man. Yeah. Thanks for being here. Yeah. Everyone go check out the Logistics Lounge. Those guys are amazing over there. So go check them out.
Absolutely. Yeah, pick up the phone. Pick up the phone and be curious today. Ask some people about things that you wouldn't think that you would ask, man. And I think that's really important.
Right. And I agree, man. I'm as an introverted where you're not really talkative, right? That's me for sure too. None of you would know that because we go on the show. I promise you, my first time doing this with Jared, I was like, I don't know.
If you haven't seen that show, it's wonderful.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
We should replay.
Go find our very first show.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Super fun.
Thank you, Devine. I appreciate that.
Prospecting is like dating, and be genuinely curious about them.
Yes, exactly.
Dating or marriage, for that matter.
Always stay curious.
Exactly. Yeah. I love it. Nate, always a good show. We hope everyone has an awesome rest of your week. Yeah. Keep grinding, guys. Stay positive. Answer the phone too. Yeah, isn't that the truth? We did cold calls yesterday. We called a multi-million-dollar company. Either way. DIY, what's up, brother?
What's up, man? Go check out his channel too.
He's incredible. We did cold calls. We'll drop that video here soon. Yesterday we did them, and they were a lot of fun. We actually was able to quote a lady. Really enjoyed it. But definitely always looking to do more calls. So.
Yeah, same. DIY. We just talked about opportunities. I can't talk. I need more coffee too. Opportunities and how to create those. Definitely a good watch, DIY. But for those of you, go check out his channel. Yeah. Tons of great freaking
incredible info.
Content, man. This guy's insane.
Yeah.
So I love the people in this industry, man.
I do too.
So we'll see you guys.